And welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Catfish on Ice, episode 103, with your host, Chad Minton, and host, Rich Howe. Joining you coming out of this weekend, this all-star weekend that we just came out of.
Break.
And Rich just had a birthday as well. Rich, how was your birthday?
It was great. It was really good. Going to Nashville and going to the Vancouver game was part of my birthday. So, yeah, it was fun.
Rich, I got to tell you, you make 25 look really good.
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
I mean, happy 25th birthday to you, Rich.
I love it. I love it.
You feel 25, though, right? That's all that matters.
I do. It's just a number. I'm not going to tell you what the number is, but yeah, 25 is great. I'll go with that.
And you got treated to a really good Preds game as well, as we said last week.
Yes, sir.
Canucks game. It feels like an eternity ago last time the Preds played.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. And they're not playing again until, is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
They play the Dallas Stars, our old friends, the Dallas Stars.
Oh, man.
Always fun, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
For sure.
See what happens.
All right.
I feel good about it.
You feeling good about it? Well, we've kind of had the Stars number on a lot of occasions.
I feel good about it. I feel really good about it. So
welcome into another episode of Catfish on Ice. Again, this is episode 103. Let's let you know what we got in store for you on this Monday evening after the All-Star break. We're going to give you our All-Star weekend top takeaways. A lot of really interesting stuff happened, including our two All-Stars, Roman Josi and Juuse Saros, doing some really good things to represent the Nashville Predators. The skills competition had plenty of I couldn't say it was all entertaining. Some of it was a little cringeworthy, if you ask me. A little awkward.
Yeah.
But it was fun. There was some good stuff in there mixed in as well that I'm sure we'll talk about, including what I thought was probably the best thing of the night, which was the breakaway challenge and Trevor Zegras with his
great stuff.
Very interesting breakaway that he chose there.
Oh no, he did the we'll talk about it. Yep. I understand.
Yeah, that ended up being a really good surprise in the whole night. It was
good.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that, and we will talk about the All-Star 3-on-3 tournament and how that went down and what we thought about that. That was a lot of fun. But we're coming out of the All-Star break now, and we're going to give y'all some of our expectations and goals for the rest of the season. And also rewind a little bit because Sportsnet put out a very interesting post where everyone could draft their all-star team with dollar figures. You had $15 to spend. You had all these players, and they didn't even include Roman Josi in this.
Yeah,
I was like, how is
they had
this
players,
possible?
but didn't include all the good ones.
I'm like, what is going on here?
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense
at all.
And so we are going to include Roman Josi in our draft, and we're also going to add $3 to the pool. So we're going to give you $18 and add goaltenders into the mix because goaltenders were not included in this Sportsnet tweet, which people do this all the time. You see this go around all the time. You'll see you have this much money to spend, and you can draft your own team, and each tier of players based on how good they are worth $5, $4, $3, and so on. And the fact that Roman Josi was not even included, and you didn't even include goaltenders, we're going to shake it up a little bit with ours.
Seems a little strange.
I'm interested. I've got my team. I want to see what Rich came up with his team and how he spent his money. So that'll be fun. And we've also got our clutch performers of the week, which is only going to be one game from last week. That was the Vancouver game, which, I said, for some reason, it feels like an eternity ago, Rich. I don't know why.
It does.
But it does.
I don't either. I don't know.
It was 6 days ago, but it feels like longer.
Yeah, it's strange. It's going to get ramped back up pretty quick, though. Second half of the season, so.
Well, we're already well past the second half of the season. For the Preds.
Right.
They're already at 46 games, so they are much further ahead than some of these other teams who have some games in hand. So that's something important to keep track of. But you can also look at it as a little bit of a positive if you're looking at the Predators because they're going to get some more rest coming into this second half of the season, you would think. They're going to get more breaks. That's good for Juuse Saros, of course, who we know is just being – worked to death. That's going to be part of our post All-Star break expectations. We've got one that's kind of circled around that. And then finally, we will wrap up tonight's episode with the top trade deadline targets that are out there and if these players would fit the Predators or not. Well, some of these players might not make sense for the Predators at all, but you might be able to find a fit for a couple of these players that are really circulating the trade deadline target list you're seeing from all of the main hockey websites. So we'll go through that list and see if any of them fit for the Preds. So fun episode lined up for you. And of course, Kyle Perkins, it's Monday. He will be jumping on board with us to do another edition of Perks Picks. Again, we have no idea what his Perks Picks will be this week. Always a surprise. Always a surprise. We ready to get into this, Rich?
Let's do it. Ready. So ready.
So ready. What were your top takeaways first, Rich, coming from the All-Star break?
Yeah. I didn't care for the new skills competition things all that much. I liked the traditional, the fastest skater, hardest shot. Those are all really cool. The breakaway thing that we're going to talk about was really cool. The thing out on the fountain at Bellagio, not that great, I don't think.
Yeah,
and then
it was
the 21 and 22 thing. It really didn't. It was kind of like just kind of boring, I guess. I hate to say that, but I don't know. It just didn't seem. There wasn't any crowd cheering and all that.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing. So the fountain face-off, the way they promoted it, I pictured it being like screaming fans on the side, like these, like just watching the players actually go over to the little rink. I hyped it up in my head way more than what it turned out to be. And kind of like what you said, Rich, there was like no enthusiasm. You really didn't hear anybody cheering. It was the fountain face-off was pre-recorded, and I didn't even realize that until the night of. I felt like the biggest idiot. So we were doing our last episode live, talking about what we expected out of the All-Star break, and we were talking about the fountain face-off. And little did we know, Rich, it was happening pretty much while we were doing it.
We're talking. Yep. Mike Twitter, he's voicing his complaint already. Central wearing blue jerseys and then switching to white. I agree with that. That was a little confusing.
That was
weird.
It was
confusing until I saw Kreider in a blue jersey with the Rangers patch. Yep, it was a little weird. I'm not sure why they did that. That's strange.
Yeah, but the fountain face-off was a big swing and a miss for me. I think they could have made it way more exciting. And like I said, the pre-recording, no fan noise, awkward. The announcer, which I'm sure is really great at his job. I can't even remember his name. Obviously, he's good at his job if he hosted it like he did. But I just thought it fell flat. Like there just wasn't much enthusiasm. It seemed awkward to me almost.
Yeah, and the players were just kind of like not really into it. It didn't feel, they're just kind of out there chit-chatting, and I don't know. I just expected a little more out of it. And then the 21 where they played 21, that was kind of the same way. It was just they were just not.
I liked that one more though, Rich. I thought it was kind of fun actually.
I did like it better than the fountain one, although but yeah, Joe Pavelski killed it, man.
I was getting into it though. I really liked the strategy that was involved in it though, because as the cards, as they knocked out the cards and these rounds kept going, it was basically whichever player finished closest to 21 or hit 21.
Yep.
And it turned out every player in the first round hit 21.
Yeah,
how many turns did they get? I think they got 3 turns, didn't they?
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember, but
who would have thunk it that NHL All-Star players are deadly accurate at shooting pucks into cards?
Look at all the people. It was like Austin Matthews, Joe Pavelski.
They made it look so easy. They made it look so easy, and they really weren't that far away from the cards. They were like 30 some odd feet away. But I did like the strategy that was kind of involved there at the end. I did like how the commentator was asking the player, okay, what card are you going for here? What's your strategy? And the player would say, oh, I'm going for that, I don't know, ace of clubs or whatever it is they were going for. And almost every time they hit it dead on. I'm like, yep, that's why they're NHL All-Star hockey players.
Absolutely. Joe Pavelski, though, man, he was killing it.
He made it look easy.
Yeah. He called every one of them and nailed every one of them. So he even shot one of the pucks through the card and broke a light behind the net or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was
and going
crazy.
back to the fountain faceoff, Roman Josi did really well in his first round.
Oh, yeah.
I think he did it all in 11 seconds. And the whole point of the fountain faceoff, for anyone who missed it or didn't catch it, you had to shoot this puck into these little targets that were kind of floating around the fountain, these little lit up targets. And it turned out the hardest target for these players to hit was the one that was closest to them. Did you notice that?
I did. They struggled with hitting that. Josi had a really hard time.
It was almost like I looked at it it reminded me of trying to do a chip shot in golf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like when you're about 10 or 15 yards short of the green and you're too far away to putt. So you got to do that little chip shot onto the green to set yourself up for a putt. That's kind of what this last little target reminded me of for these hockey players. And yes, Roman Josi, that was his downfall in the final round. And then who ended up winning the fountain faceoff? Was it Zach Werenski of the Blue Jackets?
Wow. I just watched it the other day and I can't remember.
We might have to look that one up.
I can look it up real quick.
I'm pretty sure it was Zach Werenski of the Columbus Blue
I think
Jackets.
you're right.
But, I was making jokes throughout the whole fountain faceoff that if Roman Josi wins the fountain faceoff, go ahead and stop the Norris Trophy nomination process. Give him the Norris Trophy tonight. But I guess the Norris Trophy debate lives on because Roman Josi did not win.
He did not get it.
Face-off.
It was Zach Werenski. Yep.
And then, Rich, I missed the save streak. Getting to sit in Nashville rush hour traffic, I was not able to get home in time to catch the save streak. So fill us in on what happened on the save streak as I actually go grab my phone because I am feeling a little lost right now.
Yeah,
Rich, tell us what happened in the save streak, and I will be right back.
I'm going to have to look up who actually won the save streak because I don't remember that either. Oh, it was the guys we picked. I picked Jack Campbell, and Chad picked. Who did you pick to win the save streak?
Save streak, I went with Vasilevsky, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I went with Vasilevsky.
That's right, and that's exactly who won. So we we didn't know how the rules were going to go, but it was actually Vasilevsky and Campbell were on the same team, so they kind of had to get. I think they got 9 in a row. They saved 9 in a row to win. Just killing those guys were killing it. So actually, we both were right. And then and then Saros, those guys. I think that he came in second, and I can't remember who he was with. But I think they stopped 5 or 6 in a row. It was real kind of weird the way they did it.
I like it better when it's each player on their own. And
yeah,
then
I did too.
Why wouldn't you just make it to where you all the participants compete in the first round and maybe the top 4 move on to the next round? Why do we have to make this complicated? I don't know.
Yeah, it was Cam Talbot and Juuse Saros. They came in second.
So they did it by division.
They did it by division. Actually, oh boy, I gave them more credit than they had. They actually saved 3 in a row.
Yeah,
that was it. And then the Pacific was Thatcher Demko and John Gibson, and they saved 3. And then the Metro was
were the shots they were facing were they legitimate tough shots to stop? Who was shooting at them?
Yeah, just guys in the division. Yeah, NHL players.
NHL players. And were they hard? So they were firing legit shots at them and stuff, not softballs?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it was real breakaway stuff.
Good. All right. Well, I'll have to go back and see if I can catch that, but I missed that part.
Check it out. It was cool.
But I'm very thankful that Nashville traffic did not keep me from seeing Trevor Zegras pull off the magic trick of all magic tricks in hockey. And first of all, let me say, this was the crown jewel of the night for the skills competition. Maybe of the entire NHL All-Star weekend was the creativity we saw from the breakaway challenge, where you saw these players come up with their own different ways of scoring, but they made it fun. They made it creative. They made it fun for the family. They made it fun for all of your viewers. That's what you want. You want to make hockey because these hockey players don't really get to show a lot of emotions like some of your other sports. It's more gritty and straight to the point, and just they all look mean and they all look, this and that. So it was really cool to see these players kind of let loose a little bit, have some fun, draw some laughs. And Trevor Zegras, who is, of course, in that Calder Trophy race, along with our guy Tanner Janeau and Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. Yes, he is right there in there for a reason, because he is an electrifying offensive goal scorer. But in this case, Zegras threw on the Average Joe's uniform from the movie Dodgeball. For everyone, most people have seen this movie with Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn. That we're going back, like, I don't know, that movie's like what?
That's
it's over
old.
10 years old.
Oh yeah, easily.
At least. But he threw on the Average Joe's jersey, Dodgeball jersey. And if you remember in that movie, Vince Vaughn's character, to win the Dodgeball and to beat what was the name of Ben Stiller's team?
Oh, I can't even remember. It's
been
so long since I've seen
Anyway,
that.
he throws on the blindfold, just like Vince Vaughn does in Dodgeball, the movie, and scores a breakaway goal while dodgeballs are being thrown at him, and scores a breakaway goal.
Yeah, he actually picked the puck up on the end of his stick and like spun around and threw it in backwards. So while blindfolded,
somehow he doesn't win because it was rigged. It was rigged.
It was rigged.
Pietrangelo wins the breakaway challenge because he is the hometown Vegas Golden Knights player. And I'm like, really?
I wasn't sure what he was even doing. I know he had a band come out, and I don't know.
And then who was it? Who was it that did the Hangover?
That was Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah.
He came out, and that was a little weird. Jack Hughes did the magic trick where the little kid dressed like him came out.
Yeah.
And scored
and
a goal.
then,
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool too, yeah. So it was really fun to see the creativity in that event. Enjoyed that a lot. And then hey, we did get right the hardest shot, Rich. We both predicted Victor Hedman, and Victor Hedman won. So at least we got something right.
He was still a little off of Shea Weber's record, but we'll give him, we'll give him
he hit it at 103 miles an hour, which is very, very solid, very impressive. Shea Weber's top mark was 108.5 miles an hour, but I do believe the record is still owned by Zdeno Chara.
I think so.
Which I think he was like slightly above Shea Weber's top mark.
Yeah.
But respectable showing from Hedman. Tom Wilson kind of I think he broke 100 on his. I was interested to see what Tom Wilson would do. Thought he was a really interesting choice for that event. But of course he got booed by the crowd, which was it seemed like he took it in stride.
He did. He for a second he looked like he was a little surprised, but he shouldn't be surprised.
But then he laughed it off. He laughed
it off. He doesn't care. I mean, what's it matter to him?
And then let's talk about the NHL All-Star 3-on-3 tournament itself. Roman Josi scores a goal, scores an assist.
Yep.
He scores the goal he scored was just him just finding the puck, got really in tight on the goaltender, and scored on Jack Campbell. Nice little goal for Josi, so it's cool to see him score in this thing. And but the Central Division has still never won the All-Star game since it's become the 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah. The first game was really good. The second game, not so much at all. Saros, though, he had some really good saves in the second game. They were down by 2, I believe. Saros was like killing it with the saves, trying to keep them in it. But
I mean, the goaltender is not set up for success in this format at all. Because not only is it 3-on-3, but no one's really checking, no one's forechecking, no one's hitting.
No.
Very, very few block shots.
Yeah.
So you can't go off of save percentage. I think Saros gave up like 3 goals in the last. But no one's going off save percentage. But it was really cool to see Saros in his first All-Star game. So it was great to see him get that recognition that we all know he deserves.
Absolutely.
And he got the initial selection, and then Roman Josi, of course, had to get in due to Nathan McKinnon's injury.
Yep.
And so it was awesome to see him score a goal and an assist. And But we predicted the Central Division to win it this year, and we came close, but we were wrong.
Came close. Did not happen, unfortunately.
So with that, Rich, let's go ahead and draft our all-star team. We have $18 to spend. I've got the list right here now that I've got my phone back. The main reason I had to get my phone was due to I couldn't remember exactly how this list was listed out. This is from Sportsnet. They put this out here, and they said, build your 2022 NHL All-Star lineup. You have $15 to spend. Pick 3 forwards and 2 defensemen. We're going to make it a little bit more fun here. We added Roman Josi in as a $5 pick, and we added goaltenders in, and we gave you an extra $3 to spend. So you have $18 to spend to make up for the goaltender. Your $5 players, we got Leon Draisaitl, Jonathan Huberdeau, Cal McCarr, Austin Matthews, and Connor McDavid. All $5 players, but we're adding Roman Josi in there to the mix. $4, you got Johnny Gaudreau, Victor Hedman, Nazem Kadri, Kirill Kaprizov, and Steven Stamkos. You got Kyle Connor at $3 to Brinket. We can go on and on down there. $1 players, you got Clayton Keller. You've got Nick Suzuki is a good one that stood out. $2 players, you got Joe Pavelski on there. Brady Tkachuk. You want me to give you my team, Rich, first?
Yeah, that'd be good. That sounds good.
All right, so obviously
I'm taking $1. You're going to start at the bottom?
No, I'm just going to start listing my team.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So since we're adding Roman Josi, that makes it difficult. Now I got
it did, because I didn't have him. Yeah, I didn't have him as a $5 guy.
Okay, so I'm definitely taking Roman Josi at $5.
Okay.
I'm taking Joe Pavelski at $2. I think that's a steal. Give me him at $2. Give me Brady Tkachuk at $2. So now I hate math. But all right, so I'm at $9. So I still got another $9 to spend here. I'm going to take Juuse Saros as well. So that puts me at – Rich, you're supposed to be keeping track here on the math here.
I can't – you're asking the wrong person to do math.
All right. I got Roman. I did this earlier, and I lost my list. All right, I got Josi at 5, right?
Josi at 5, yep.
I got Pavelski at 2.
So do it like – well, okay, that's fine. So you
I'm
didn't
go
in
like order of how I picked them.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha.
All right. I took Brady Tkachuk at 2. So that puts me at $9. Taking Saros. Puts me at 14. I ain't got much money to spend now.
You don't. I actually need a boy, I screwed mine.
This is hard, isn't it?
It is very hard. It's definitely hard.
All right, so I've got $4 to spend. Oh, yeah. I took Clayton Keller. I forgot about him.
Okay.
For $1. So now I need a defenseman. I need a defenseman, and I've got $3 to spend. So that means I'm stuck with Zach Werenski.
You got Zach Werenski.
He's not bad.
No, he's not bad at all.
He gets overlooked all the time, so that's my team.
All right.
When you add in the goaltender, that's my team. You got Roman because you picked 2 defensemen, 3 forwards. So we got Roman Josi and Zach Werenski as my 2 defensemen. I took Joe Pavelski, Brady Tkachuk, and Clayton Keller as my 3 forwards. And, of course, I took Saros at the $5 mark to put me at $18, Rich. That was tough.
Right.
That was difficult.
It is hard. So I'll do mine. So, obviously, I'm going to take Roman Josi.
All right, I'm writing these down for you, Rich. I'm writing these down for you.
Oh, awesome.
So we don't lose track here.
I think I did the math right.
All right.
So Roman Josi for $5. So that's good. Connor McDavid for $5, though. That's pretty good too. But
I thought you were saying you spent. I thought you were saying you took McDavid. I'm like, you're already at $10, man, and you.
I know. Yeah, just them 2, and then $1 the rest of the guys. So yeah, so Roman Josi, and then Nazem Kadri.
All right.
That's a forward. So that's $4. That's $9.
Spending a little money here.
Yep. So then Chris Kreider, $3. Oh, I don't have enough people. Hold on.
Told you it's harder than it sounds. So you're
No,
at $12. You're at $12 right now, Rich.
I got it. Yeah. So I got Josi, Kadri, Chris Kreider, and then Freddie Anderson was in the $3 goaltender range. So that's $15. So then Joe Pavelski for $2 and Adam Pelech for $1. $18.
All right. You know what? We took a lot of the same players, but you couldn't take your boy Juuse. How you feeling about that, Rich? You could not take your boy Juuse.
Well, actually, I could have.
I worked it out to where I took Saros and Josi first, and then I worked myself around it to figure out. That was non-negotiable for me. I had to take Josi and I had to take Saros, and then I had to figure everything else out. So that's why. But Pavelski at $2 made it easier for me, and Brady Tkachuk for that matter at $2 made it a little bit easier. Even Clayton Keller is a decent player. He scores a lot of goals. He's just on a really bad team. So I took him for $1. So I like my team, but I like your team too, even though you did not take your boy Juuse. I'm kind of shocked here, Rich.
So Joe Pavelski, 48 points this season. He's like 37 years old or something. That's pretty strong. He's still playing really well.
Having a great year.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they're not having that great a year, but yeah, that's good.
They're hanging in the weeds though, Rich. And we're about to see the Dallas Stars this Wednesday. The Stars are one of those teams. They're hanging out in the bushes, and it's like they're just waiting to creep up and surprise everybody. So I would not count out the Dallas Stars just yet.
Yep. Now's their time for them to make a push. So.
And one more thing. What's the news? I never really looked this up. Why was Igor Schusterkin not in the All-Star game? Did he really not get an All-Star game pick?
You know, I don't remember.
Did he pull out? Did he cancel?
I think he did. I think he canceled. Yes.
Because I was like, that's like the biggest travesty ever if they did not select him.
That would have been horrible. I don't remember why he had to not do it.
Because he is the one goaltender where I will say, if Saros isn't the top Vezina candidate, then Igor Shusterkin, I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
Yep.
Obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't remember why he had to pull out, but he did.
This is episode 103 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Minton and Rich Howe, your host, presented by DraftKings and part of the Hockey Podcast Network. As we react to this All-Star weekend that we just watched over the weekend and giving you our top takeaways from it, now we are going to look ahead to the rest of the season grind that we have ourselves coming up here. We're going to get you ready for the playoff push here. The Predators are in a really good spot. Most playoff odds predictors have the over 95% chance that the Predators are going to make the playoffs. But there's still that 5% that makes me nervous as hell. And
it always happen.
Yes. So we've got some goals and expectations here. I also wrote an article on this exact topic if you want to check it out on predlines.com.
Absolutely.
Some realistic, because obviously the goal is to always win a Stanley Cup. So we left that one out because that's obvious, but got some expectations here. Let me give you my first one, and then I'm going to ask Rich his reaction on it. My first one here is more rest for Juuse Saros. I don't care how it happens. I know the schedule might loosen up a little bit because the Predators have already played 46 games, so maybe they will get a little bit more of a rest compared to some of these other teams. But I feel like Saros is going to start – his play is going to start being affected down the stretch. And when I say down the stretch, I mean like the last 2 weeks of the regular season going into the playoffs. If you just keep grinding him down like they're doing – he's only human. He's going to start breaking down the grind. And the last thing you want to see happen is him hit a rough patch right in the last couple weeks of the season when you're battling for playoff seeds, or even when you get in that first round of the playoffs, you know. So you need a refreshed Juuse Saros going into those final couple weeks. So now is the perfect time to get David Rittich some starts and give Saros some extra rest.
I totally agree. I wrote that same thing down myself. What they need to do is obviously finish the season really strong so that they can maybe give him some rest at the end of the season. They don't want him to rest too long. So, gets out of sequence or whatever, but you also don't want it to be to where they're having to win games the last week or two of the season to even get into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be in that position, but yeah, man, Rittich needs to get some starts because Saros, they're riding him really hard. I mean,
the more realistic scenario for me seems to be that in those final 2 weeks, the Predators are still going to have something to play for. And it's kind of going to go into my next expectation I'm about to give you here. But it's going to be more about playoff seeding and maybe even home ice advantage in the first round. That's what I'm thinking about more than anything. And the last thing you want to happen is a broken down and tired and exhausted Saros going into his last 3 or 4 starts of the season. He has a couple bad games. And what do you know? The Preds fall out of third place and they fall into that dreaded wild card. And guess what your gift is? You get to play the Colorado Avalanche in the first round.
Yep. And we don't want
that. I'm not really worried. I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs anymore. I feel like it would take a catastrophic meltdown for them to miss the playoffs at this point. But I'm really still very worried about them landing in that wild card area and having to go against Vegas or Colorado in the first round.
Yeah.
Just don't like the thought of that.
That was one of the things I actually wrote down too. Stay out of whatever scenario would put them against Colorado in the first round.
Well, that scenario is most likely going to be the wild card.
Yeah. And I don't think I agree. I don't think they're going to. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
But it's such a crowded division race like it always is. Yeah. And if you look at it right now, even though the Predators are playing great, obviously, and they're doing all these great things, they are only 3 points shy of St. Louis, who is currently in one of the wild card spots. Right. So it's not like they had this big gap between where they're at now and being in the wild card mix. Like they've still got a lot to play for. And,
and Colorado's 8 points above them in first.
Colorado's building themselves a cushion here. They got 2 games in hand on Nashville, and they're 8 points ahead. So I'm not saying it's completely impossible for the Predators to somehow win the division, but that's a pretty far-fetched thing to happen. So I don't even have that. I don't even have that in my expectations or goals because I just don't think it's realistic at all. If it happens, I'll be shocked, just like this entire season has left me shocked. But I just don't see it happening. To go back to Saros real quick, Saros has faced the most shots of any goaltender in the NHL by almost 100, Rich.
That's insane.
He's already made the most starts. He's second in the league in wins, only behind Vasilevsky. And he has faced almost 100 more shots than the next person in line in the entire season, which was my biggest argument I have for why Saros should be right up there with Igor Schusterkin and Frederik Andersen when we're talking about the Vezina Trophy race. And, of course, Andrei Vasilevsky is in there as well. But that's why I say, okay, Schusterkin, I get it. His numbers are better than Saros's. They are slightly better. But he's also played way fewer games, and I do think that should play a role in it. I do, because Saros has had more instances to where he can give up more goals. He's just had to play more. His team has relied on him more than the Rangers have had to rely on Schusterkin. But those are 1A and 1B for me. Like I said, Schusterkin, if you want to make him your Vezina Trophy leading candidate, I'm not going to give you any crap about that because obviously he is up there and he's got the best numbers among all goaltenders when it comes to goals against, when it comes to a lot of your analytics. He's ahead of Saros slightly. but
Yep.
heavy usage should matter.
I think so too. And I mean, you look at how many shots, that's a lot of shots. And, you know, he had that stretch where it was like 2 or 3 40-shot saves a night. That's insane. And that has to be taken into account. You got to look at what would happen if the team did not have him, I think, as well. So, I mean, be a totally different team without Saros. That's for sure.
I think you could say the same about the Rangers as well, though, if they didn't have Shusterkin. So they're two worthy candidates.
I agree.
No one's throwing Shusterkin out and saying that he's not worthy and deserving of being up there as well.
100%.
But yeah, Saros is going to have to start getting more rest, and I don't think it should just be on back-to-backs. I think that occasionally you got to see. I mean, what was the whole point in going out and signing Rittich to a 1-year deal if you're not going to use him in situations and unless the organization just literally has zero faith in Rittich at all? And at that point, I feel like, why did you sign him in the first place? You could have just brought Conor Ingram up here, and he could have done exactly what Rittich's doing. You know,
I agree 100%.
Now you wouldn't want to see Conor Ingram just wasting away on the bench and not getting development. So we're happy to see him in Milwaukee. That's great for him. But my point is, why did you bring Rittich in here to start with if he's just basically keeping the bench warm and he's not really doing anything?
Yeah, and especially since our friend Lindsay, who's a huge Flames fan, has told us that David Rittich needs some starts to get in, to get going. And like, he's just not going to get it. Like, needs a few more than he has now. That's for sure. Like, you got to get him in there and get him more comfortable.
And Rich, let's look at the rest of this month of February. I mean, the Preds have no back-to-backs. And
so,
I mean, it's very possible that we don't see David Rittich until, I mean, there's not a back-to-back for the Predators in over a month from now.
Wow.
Their next back-to-back is March the 12th and 13th.
Yep. St. Louis and Minnesota.
So it's very possible that not only just based on the schedule and the way it's laid out, Saros does get some rest this month, just by the way the schedule is laid out, and we don't see Rittich all month. If you're Coach Hines, do you still find a way to start Rittich a couple games this month? It's a tough question.
It's very tough because they're trying to definitely give Saros the most starts he's ever had, and he's definitely going to get that. But I mean, how long can he keep it up?
You look at this though. I mean, so the Predators play Dallas on Wednesday, then they get another 2 days off, then they play Winnipeg, then they get another. They have 2 and 3 days off in between games, all the way up until
22nd.
Yeah. So Saros is going to at least start the next 5 games. So who knows when we will see David Rittich again, to be quite honest. But
and if you look at who they're playing though.
But then it becomes really dicey because in March the schedule gets way more condensed. You're going to have to lean on Rittich during some of those games, during those back-to-backs in March. And what are you going to do? Throw out a completely rusty David Rittich and just concede that you're probably going to lose that game because Rittich's going to give up 3 or 4 or 5 goals in that game because he's rusty and he hasn't played in 2 months. I mean, I think you got to figure out a way to get Rittich a start or 2 this month. I know that's not popular, and I know everyone wants to see Juuse Saros as much as possible, but I think that David Rittich needs to get a start at some point this month, or maybe even 2 starts.
Yeah.
But there's some tough games though too. So
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, so they've got. Man. So they're all really tough. The one could be the Winnipeg game, possibly. But then you look at the 15th. It's the Capitals, the Carolina, then the next one's Florida, then Dallas again, and then Tampa Bay. So that's
Carolina and Florida might put a 5 or 6 spot on the Predators, even if Saros is in the game. I'm just being dead honest.
They absolutely could. That's a truth.
So you know what? Maybe I retract my statement. Maybe this isn't the month for Rittich. Maybe Riddick can get some more relaxation in. I don't know, but it's not shaping up for him to really get much at all.
He can take the Kraken game on March 2nd.
Let's
or
get
the Philly
to,
game on March 17th.
Let's get to the next rest of season expectations and goals. And for me, it's pretty obvious. It's the elephant in the room. Get Phillip Forsberg signed. Let's get this behind us. It's a pretty obvious expectation at this point. And I saw some chatter from David Poyle on 102.5 The Game leading into the All-Star weekend, where he was saying he would really like to open up the line of communication with Forsberg's camp over the All-Star break. I haven't seen any other news on it since then, so I don't know what that means. All I know is all the power is in Forsberg's hands, both literally and figuratively at this point, because he's scoring goals every time he touches the puck, it seems like. But
Pretty
also
much.
he has a ton of leverage at the negotiating table right now.
He does. I remember hearing the exact same thing. I saw a tweet that Poyle said he wanted to ramp up conversations.
That's what I saw. Yeah,
with Forsberg's manager or agent, and yeah, I mean, get it done.
Just overpay him. You're going to have to overpay him. You're going to have to give him a long-term deal. You're going to have to do it. When you have superstars, you hold on to your superstars.
Yeah.
What kind of message would that send to not only your current team, but also what kind of message would that send to future prospective big name superstars who might want to come to Nashville? How bad would that look on the Preds front office if you have basically a lifelong Nashville Predator who's having a career season at age 27 and you don't pay him, you just let him go?
Yeah.
That would look really bad on the organization. So I think you're going to have to overpay him. Phillip Forsberg struck while the iron was hot. You tip your cap. You give it to him. You might have to pay him $9 million a year. And you might have to pay that over 6 or 7 year deal. Like, it's going to be a long-term deal. But if there's one player I trust to live up to a deal like that, it's Phillip Forsberg.
Oh, I agree 100%. And you look at, you probably will have to give him at least $9 million because they gave Ryan Johansen and Matt Duchene $8 million a season. And up until this season, those dudes haven't lived up to their contract. And, Phillip Forsberg's playing really well and deserves everything he gets this year and whatever contract he gets.
Phillip Forsberg is leading the league in goals scored above expected. He's leading the entire league.
Yeah. So just get it done. Do whatever you got to do.
You're going to have to overpay him, but you don't want this dark cloud hanging over you going into the NHL trade deadline as it gets closer and closer. I'm not saying the Predators are going to trade him, but I'm telling you, it's going to get louder and louder, and it's going to be more questions are going to be asked about it. The media is going to start asking questions about it nonstop. Yep. I know that David Poyle behind closed doors is probably working effortlessly to get this done. And he probably knows better than anybody right now that he is going to have to probably pay more than he would like to pay based on Forsberg's market value. But that's what happens when these players have these contract years, and you've just got to bow down and live with it. Tip your cap to Forsberg. He picked the perfect timing to set himself up for a long and high payday. I mean, it's just
and whatever you do not let him walk.
And that's what you're in danger of.
Not let him walk. That's for sure.
If you lowball Forsberg with an offer and he rejects it, then you pretty much already lose him when you get to the offseason because he's going to be thinking you already lowballed me once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a team or two out there who will pay him handsomely.
Oh, absolutely.
If the offseason gets here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
It's just weird. Hopefully,
here's my next post All-Star break season expectation. This is a more general statement, but I just feel like it scares me when I think about this. Don't mess with what's not broken.
Yep.
Is that fair?
It's absolutely fair. I wrote something similar to that. If you're going to add somebody, Be super selective and don't make a bad decision.
And you better be sure about it.
Yeah. If you're even going to add somebody.
Because what scares me about it is that they go out and get someone who on paper is an upgrade. You're like looking at this player and you're like, yeah, that's an upgrade. We just got better.
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's an upgrade on paper doesn't mean that it's going to be an upgrade on the ice. It doesn't mean that it's not going to shake up the locker room, mess with line chemistry, all of that stuff. And generally speaking, it takes a new player in a new team some time to get adjusted. A lot of times these players, even when they're really good players, don't just come in and just instantly just start producing. Some of the really great players do, but it can be very dicey and it can mess with line chemistry. And this team is just firing on all cylinders. They all play for each other. They all have each other's backs. So many of them are on pace to have career seasons. You go up and down the Preds roster. So many of them are on pace to set career highs in all these different categories.
Yep.
Do you really want to shake that up? You better be really sure about whatever player is you're looking to add if you do that.
I do not really want to shake anything up at this point. And we're going to talk about some players in a little bit that they could be shopping for, but you think about when they do add somebody, who do you move? Who do you get rid of? You know, what?
Well, there are a lot of really intriguing players out there. Don't get me wrong, a lot.
There are.
And the trade deadline is going to be I think the trade deadline is going to be extra entertaining this year because for the longest time, there wasn't a lot of movement because of all of the COVID uncertainty. Right. And I'm not saying the pandemic's over. I'm not saying any of that, but there is a little bit more certainty now. We're starting to get a little bit more control over this. And so I do think that GMs are going to be more emboldened this year to really make some moves and get aggressive. I think we're in for a very, very exciting trade deadline season this year.
I think
so as we go through February, we might already see some trades leading up to it. But going into March, buckle in. I think it's going to be really exciting. There's going to be a lot of movement.
I think so too. I agree. Yeah.
But we'll save that for the end of the episode. Kyle Perkins will join us for that segment after he does Perk's picks. We'll round out the episode listing off all the top trade targets out there and if they would fit for the Predators. How would they come to the Predators? Who do we have to lose if we did add that player? That'll be a fun way to end episode 103.
Yeah.
All right. So Something I think you got another one? Because I think we covered them all. I think we covered the four that I had.
It's not really a big, huge thing, but it was just, I wrote down, just maintain their course, what they're doing, but just clean up a few things like the stupid penalties they take.
I don't think that's going to happen, Rich.
They have to do that.
They are who they are.
I really think they have to do that.
They're just going to have to continue to have a very reliable penalty kill. I think that's what they're going to have to do. That's their only remedy. I don't think they're going to stop taking penalties.
Yeah.
But if they can become a top 10 penalty kill along with having a top 10 power play, well, then you can live with some of the penalties because they're killing them off.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
That's very true.
But
that's a good one.
They're on a good trajectory. They're doing really obviously better than we ever thought. And if they can just maintain what they're doing, keep the lines together like he's been doing a really good job of doing that. Keep these guys healthy. Don't have to put, resort to using Ben Harper or anything on defense. I think they're doing really well. They can just keep that up.
With the exception of uncontrollable injuries, John Hines has really kept this team very much stable when it comes to the lines. Because we all remember last season and the season before, and when Laviolette was here, every game day was just shake up the lines and see what comes out. Yeah. So it's really nice to pretty much know what you're going to get with this lineup. Yeah. Unless there's just some crazy injury that shakes things up, you pretty much know what line combinations you're going to get when this team is fully intact.
Absolutely.
And that is a great thing to have. And that's another reason why it scares me to death to think about adding a player. Because if you add a player, if you add one of these top trade targets, you are going to have to shake up these lines. There's just no way around it.
Yeah. And I just don't. I mean, you think about how well the top three lines are doing really well, and then the fourth does well, good as well. But who would you take out? That's the thing.
We'll save it for the end. We'll save it for the end.
You just don't want to replace anybody at this point.
This is episode 103 of Catfish on Ice. We appreciate everyone joining us on this Monday evening. We hope your work weeks got off to a great start. This is your host, Chad Benton, with host Rich Howe. We've got our buddy and co-host Kyle Perkins joining us in just about 10 minutes from now for his edition of Perk's Picks this week. He'll also finish out the rest of episode 103 with us. Can't wait to catch up with him. He's always brings the heat and brings a fun time to Catfish on Ice. And so we will see him shortly. And Rich, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. It is since September we've been waiting for this moment. You didn't even know what I was going into there, Rich. You were like, what moment?
I think I got an idea what it might be.
Yeah, so since September, we've been waiting for this moment. It is Super Bowl week. The LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals are getting ready to face off against each other this week. And our sponsor, DraftKings, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 56, has you covered and is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. So you can flip your money quick. Bet just $5 and get 280 in free bets if your team wins. If I was you, I would take the LA Rams, but I know there's a lot of people on the Cincinnati Bengals too. Either way, all you got to do is put up $5. And I'm hearing a really interesting thing that some people are doing. They're getting with their buddy or they're getting with their significant other, and they're saying, you bet $5 on the one team, and then I'll bet $5 on the other team, and one of us is guaranteed to win $280.
That makes sense.
However you want to go about it, DraftKings has you covered with our exclusive offer using our promo code THPN. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code THPN, and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get 280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. 21 and up minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania, and void where prohibited. And also, you can see DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gambling resources. And if the sportsbook is not available yet in your state, you still have a chance at a lot of prizes by playing daily fantasy for Super Bowl 56. And new customers are getting a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit as well. So Lots going on for Super Bowl 56 and the DraftKings Sportsbook app with our promo code THPN this week. So go do it.
Yeah. I will definitely be watching the Super Bowl. I haven't kept up with football much, but I always watch the Super Bowl. So,
well, it should be a good one. I'm actually really excited about it too. I like seeing two teams that, well, some people thought the Rams might have made it this year, but no one saw the Cincinnati Bengals coming.
No, absolutely not. Not after the way they've
let's just say that maybe the Predators can go down a similar path. No one saw the Bengals coming this year, and they made it all the way. Let's see if the Predators can do the same thing.
I hope so, man. Exciting. That would be so
exciting. All right, right before Kyle joins us, Kyle Perkins of Renegades of Puck and also of Catfish on Ice. He's a two-way player.
Yeah. He actually did a recorded spot for Renegades of Puck the other day. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Good for him.
I
got to check it out. I've not seen it.
I was texting him back and forth, and he said, I had to record it like 10 times. I was super nervous.
It's tough. It's really hard.
It is hard.
We really appreciate all the good work that Renegades of Puck does. Another local Preds podcast that does really outstanding work, is wildly popular in this market. They put out a lot of cool merchandise. They put out really good unfiltered Preds topics, just like we do here on Catfish and Ice. So we really appreciate them, and Kyle Perkins does good work for them as well as good work for us. And we really are thankful when he joins us. So he's about to join us. Until then, let's go ahead and do our clutch performers of the week, which is only one game, but it is still Monday, and we're not going to skip over our clutch performers of the week. So let's do it. Rich, this was pretty easy for me this week. I don't know if it was easy for you. We'll see. We'll see if you agree with my list.
Yep.
I went with number 1. Or let's go the other way. Number 3.
Yep.
Tanner Janeau was my number 3 pick for clutch performers this week. He had 1 goal, 4 hits, 2 shots on goal against the Canucks. And he's sticking around in that Calder Trophy race with that goal he scored against Vancouver.
That was a good goal. It was awesome. Was that the one? There might have been. Was that the one
that put the Preds up? That put the Preds up 4-2, just less than 2 minutes into the third period.
Yeah, there was one where I don't know if it was on TV or not, but it looked like Vancouver was going to challenge. It took them a long time to drop the puck after the Predators scored. I don't remember.
I don't think that was his goal.
Yeah, I don't think it was either. I think it was the third.
But I do remember the player talking about.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, what is happening? I couldn't figure out what was going on.
It was weird. The broadcast couldn't figure it out either.
Yeah, I don't think – I didn't even know what was happening. So,
all right, my number 2 clutch performer of the week for me, making his first appearance on my clutch performers this season. And that is Ryan Johansen. I had to put him in there. The reason why I put him on the list this week, of course, we're just reacting to the one game. But he was the one that got the scoring started for the Predators. They were down 1-0 to the Canucks in this game. They opened up a little bit shaky. Rich, you were at that game, so you can expand on this because you were there. But I thought that was a really clutch goal that Ryan Johansen scored. The Preds were just wrapping up a penalty kill on the Canucks. And Ryan Johansen skates up the boards past mid-ice, scoops up the puck. It's just him and Thatcher Demko. And with an exclamation point, he pinpoint knocks it over Demko's glove. And the puck was well behind the goaltender before Demko even knew what hit him. That's when you know. That's when you know you beat a goaltender clean, when the goaltender looks behind him and doesn't even know what happened. That's great. Exactly what happened on that goal.
It was great because, like you said, it was kind of a breakaway, and the place went nuts. Went absolutely crazy. And then Forsberg, of course, scored not long after that. And that's great after.
That's the definition of clutch for me. When you score in that situation, when your team's down 1-0, you need a response. You know it's your last game for a while going into the All-Star break, so you need some good momentum going in. You don't want to go into the All-Star break on a sour note. That was a crucial goal to get the Preds rolling in that game.
Yes.
They never really looked back after that goal. They really started firing on all cylinders after Johansen kind of woke the team up with that goal. He also performed well in the face-off circle that night, 55% face-off circle win percentage, so he was contributing in other areas as well. Had a hit in that game, but it's pretty simple here. This isn't rocket science. Our number 1 clutch performer of the week is Phillip Scorsberg. He scored 2 goals, had 5 shots on goal, even added 4 hits to his resume that night. And, Phillip Forsberg is pretty much making these multi-point games like just normal business as usual. I've almost come to expect Forsberg to score 2 points every game the way he's playing right now.
I agree, 100%. That's a good choice. I mean, he was awesome that night, that's for sure. It was that one goal he had. Well, it's gonna give away he's obviously my number 1 clutch performer. That one was just a straight up just from Ovechkin's office.
Yep. Hard
slap shot, and it just Demko had no chance at even stopping that. So that was amazing. That was crazy. That was the one that put him up 2-1, I believe.
You going to take anyone out? So do you agree with my list, or do you have someone you threw in?
So, I threw in Saros again as number 3. I know he let in that one. I know he let in that one, but man, he's still playing really well.
He played well. He played well, but he only faced 32 shots. It didn't take a gigantic performance. And I
Not
just thought
gigantic, but they started getting pretty. They started shooting
They
a lot
did.
more toward the end. So
they did.
he
And
didn't
you
let
can always
anything
make
else
an
win,
argument.
so.
You can always make an argument for the goaltender when they only give up 2 goals in a game in any hockey game.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had to give Tanner Janeau some love this week, because he is sticking around in this Calder Trophy race. A lot of people thought that he would eventually fade and that he wouldn't be able to keep up his goal pace. But the guy keeps figuring out ways to score goals on top of everything else he does in very limited ice time, in a lot of situations where he's not in the offensive zone, and yet he still has 14 goals. And, I mean, if he breaks the 20-goal mark in his rookie year, my gosh, that's just amazing stuff from an undrafted player like Tanner Janeau. So I had to put him at number 3 this week.
Yeah.
Saros has been on every Clutch Performers list this year. So I figured I'd give Saros a break from the list and let Ryan Johansen get a taste of the Clutch Performers list for a change, and then threw Tanner Janeau in there, which I think Janeau's been on there at least once, I think. But
I think he has been. So my number 2, I gave it to all the guys, 8 different guys who got primary and secondary assists.
What? You can't do that.
I can. I did. I put them on the list.
I got to write some rules down. I got to write some rules down.
All of them, each of them had an assist. It was spread out nice and even. It's clutch, man. When you spread out nice and even.
I'm going to have to write down the list for the rules on Clutch Performers.
All right, write them down.
You cannot pick more than 3 players.
Okay. I won't do it. Well, I picked 8 that time. So,
okay.
But,
Fair enough. At least you got Forsberg right.
Again. I did get Forsberg right. That's a good
if you didn't put Forsberg at number 1, I was going to question whether you were even at the game.
Oh, I was there. It was amazing. So awesome. I sent a tweet to Crazy Kyle and asked him to play a song, and he played it. So that was pretty
cool. That. That was really cool.
Yeah. I always like to hear him play that Rush song, Subdivisions, and he always does it, awesome. Man. It's really cool of him to do
Crazy
that.
Kyle is the man. He's just.
We're hoping to get him on soon.
We're hoping. So we're hoping that because a lot of these future guests that we want to get on, they are slam busy covering the Preds as well and working alongside the Preds, and so we hope to get some really outstanding future guests coming up later on when the season dies down, probably in the off season. But we are working hard to get more future guests on the show. We will keep you updated on all that. We do have a really awesome friend of the show and guest coming up for Thursday's episode, and that is Max Ritz, who is on the Squadcast and is also a diehard Los Angeles Rams fan. So he's feeling really good right now because he's got his Nashville Predators playing great, and he's got his LA Rams in the Super Bowl. So we're going to get caught up with him. It's been a while since we've gotten a chance to talk to him. He has been on the podcast in the past, and we really invite everyone to go check out what he does on the Squadcast, where they cover a lot of different topics in sports. So he is going to be a great guest that will be featured in Thursday's episode 104. We will be talking to him later this week, and that his interview will be included in our next episode. So stay tuned for that. Can't wait to catch up with our boy Ritzy.
Those dudes cover baseball, football, hockey, like everything. Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
So everyone go check out the Squadcast. They do good work, and Max Ritz will be joining us later this week for that. So that'll be awesome.
Another Canadian friend.
Yes, a Canadian friend who is a Predators fan. I love it.
Yeah, I actually asked him about that, and he said he became a Predators fan when Paul Kariya was on the team. So that was pretty cool. He actually got a Kariya jersey. So yeah, it sure is.
That's going way back.
Kariya Predators jersey, I believe. So yeah,
nice collector's item there, I think.
I couldn't believe it. Like when I talked to him, I was like, you live in like the hockey mecca. Like Canadians are just born loving hockey, and like you picked like a team that is a Southern team that is hadn't been around forever, like the Maple Leafs or those other teams. So it's just kind of funny.
All right. As we wait for Kyle to join us, he's getting ready to join us in just a couple minutes. Any second now, he will be joining us. Rich, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this Stars game on Wednesday? Let's do a quick little preview while we got a couple minutes here. The Stars, we say it all the time in our power rankings. They're a team that's hard to figure out. They're like the helter-skelter of the division. What are we thinking here? There's bad blood between these two teams. They do not like each other, way more so than other teams. I expect a slugfest. I expect a lot of trips to the penalty box. I'm not saying it's going to be a low-scoring game necessarily because but I do think the game is going to be dominated by special teams. That's kind of what I'm expecting out of this one.
I expect the exact same thing. We all know how much they hate each other. There's always lots of pushing and shoving and after the whistle stuff, so I don't expect anything different this game. The Stars could definitely hurt Nashville's feelings if they're not careful, so they're going to have to
as many problems as the Stars have had this year. They've got the 6th ranked power play in the league. The Predators have the 7th ranked power play in the league. Now look at this: the Predators have gotten all the way up to 11th in the penalty kill.
I would have never believed that.
Whereas the Stars
awesome.
are 20. The Stars are 25th in the league in penalty kill.
So that's good. That's
good.
That's good.
Also, the Preds are 7th in the league in goals against per game, whereas the Stars are way back at 20th. So the Stars, for the longest time, were like one of the stingiest defensive teams in the league, but they're just not showing it as much this year.
No.
They've not been their normal self. We'll have to wait and see who's in net for them, Braden Holtby or Jake Ottinger. But we'll wait and see. But, no love lost between these two teams. Sign me up for it.
Dallas Preds, man. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a slugfest.
There you go.
Yep, that's what I just said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there'll be some fisticuffs involved in this one before
those
all said and done.
Those penalty box seats will be nice and warm because I think there'll be a lot of trips.
As Ann Kimmel always says, there's no snacks in there, but I have a feeling they're going to be looking for snacks. They just don't like each other. Those two teams, it just always seems like there's always animosity, and with the crew the Preds has this year, they can actually fire back instead of just being kind of along for the ride.
I mean, there's still a lot of games left coming out of the All-Star break, but I do think the Stars are starting to get close to desperation mode. Like if they're going to make the playoffs, like they're within, they're not completely out of it yet. But if they're one long losing streak away from being buried so far back that I don't think they'd be able to make it back. So they're kind of in desperation mode right now. So if I'm the Predators, you better be ready for their best game. You better not come out of the All-Star break flat. And that's what I'm a little worried about, is that we might come out a little bit flat, and the Stars are more than capable of jumping on the Predators early. So we got to avoid that flat opening to open the game.
Yeah, they've struggled a couple of times after a long rest. Hopefully they've kind of got over that now. So maybe I guess we'll see on Wednesday night. But that's a rough one to come back on. That's like having a final on your first day of class.
I do think the Stars are much better than their record, so we better take them seriously.
Yeah, that's not a lightweight game.
No. They've got a lot of ground to make up, though, the Stars do. So they've got 48 points right now in 5th place, and St. Louis has 57. So they've got a few games in hand, but that's a lot of ground if you think about it.
They're a bad game or two away from being sellers, and that's pretty wild for a team that was in the Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they got the big defenseman John Klingberg as their top selling point. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as we're going to run through the list of players and just if they would fit for the Predators, what would we have to do if they did sign these players? We'll run through that list after Perk's picks, but let's start off right now with Perk's picks. And Kyle, go ahead and give us your first pick of the week.
Perk's picks.
Our first one, and he's generally a mainstay on here, Juuse Saros. the boy's just good at hockey. I mean,
He hockey's
there's
Pretty good.
He hockeys really well.
yes,
That's
very.
And that mustache is starting to look really good too there, Kyle.
It's
Yeah.
starting to become iconic. It's
It
kind of his
is.
thing. His mustache is even more mustache than Phil's mustache, and that's saying something.
Those
Yeah.
All-Star game picks with him and Roman Josi just made my heart all warm and fuzzy inside.
Oh
So
yeah,
good to see, man. So awesome.
and Yusi's just like he has this clean cut, really sweet looking demeanor, and then he's got the Magnum PI stash, and he's got the forearm tattoos. So none of it mixes well, none of it meshes.
Saros almost looks like he just shaved for the first time, and it's all nice and baby oiled and cleaned up. But someone came and put a fake mustache on his face.
Yes, it looks like he has a
love
woolly
it.
worm. He's trying to predict next winter by his mustache right now.
Yeah, love it.
But he's
man.
got over the last 5 games, his average save percentage is a .950. That's
pretty good.
That's good.
And
That's
there's
good
a game
hockey.
against Edmonton in there, and I know Edmonton's bad, but they still have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and you still. I think that was one of his highest save percentage games with like a .974. It's unreal, and the only thing I'm really worried about is down the stretch is he going to get tired.
And that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Kyle.
Yeah,
Same thing.
That's a bit worrisome.
And when you look at the schedule, where would you rest him?
You don't want
much.
Saros. I want to ask what you think about it, Kyle. Here's what worries me is that he starts getting worn down and goes through a little bit of a rough patch at the worst timing, like the last 2 weeks of the season when you're trying to get a top 3 division spot. Because I feel pretty confident that they're going to get a playoff spot. I'm worried about them falling into that wild card spot, barely making it into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth type of thing. And if a worn down Saros going into the last couple weeks of the season, and it really does worry me, and it could cost the Predators maybe having home ice advantage for the first round, or it could push them back into the wild card. Then you're talking about having to face Colorado possibly in the first round. So that's kind of what you're thinking too, right, Kyle?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, especially if the team gets to pushing in front of them. If they're like, we have to win these games, and they start going a little bit over and doing a little bit too much, and they loosen up their defensive system to try and score more goals to win the games, then you're really going to be in a bad situation, because he's going to be seeing 50 shots a game and he's tired, and that is not a winning recipe.
No.
I honestly don't know how he's held up as well as he's held up so far with as much work as he's getting.
I saw the crazy stat today that Saros has faced the most shots in the league of any goaltender by almost 100 to the next person behind him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But we were also looking at the schedule, and it kind of made me retract my statement a little bit. I was trying to say, like, David Riddick needs to start getting a few more starts on a regular basis. But then I look at this February schedule, and you've got a bunch of instances where there's 2 days off between games. You've even got a 3-day break, and there's no back-to-backs. So why would you? It's very likely that just because of the way the schedule is laid out, that the Predators aren't going to need to use David Riddick at all, and that Saros is going to get some decent rest anyway, just because of the way the schedule is laid out.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the schedule right now, and comparative to a lot of the other teams, Nashville has a really light schedule in February.
But they do.
But you look at March and April, and it bounces back out, and that's when you're going to have to see a lot more David Riddick. But then you're talking about a goaltender who hasn't played hardly in 2 months. Can you trust David Riddick to be thrown in randomly in March? It's kind of a tough situation. I still feel like you need to find a way to maybe get Riddick a start or two in February. But then you look at the opponents, that makes you nervous. You really going to throw Riddick in against Carolina or Florida or Washington? Probably not.
There's not a game in February I would put David in.
So it's the UC Saros show, just as usual. Like
maybe the Winnipeg game.
No.
Maybe Winnipeg. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't think so. No.
But that's a Saturday night game in Nashville.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
Yep, you're right. That's absolutely true.
David Riddick can just go ahead and kick his feet back a little bit, and we'll see you in March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
hate that for the dude, but it is what it is, you know.
Let's get to your next pick there, Kyle.
All right, we'll go ahead. Just an update on Mr. Janeau. He still leads all rookies with 14 goals, 13 of those at even strength. The only one even close to him at even strength goals is Michael Bunting from Toronto, who has 11. I think Lucas Raymond has maybe 8. He's scoring the majority of his on the power play. And it's nice to see every time you hear the Calder brought up now, it seems like begrudgingly somebody has to mention Tanner. Except for a couple people. Stu Grimson is all for it, and just you've got a few commentators around. It's like, hey, I love this kid. I like how he plays. He's the best all around player in the Calder race this year. It's just nice to see that he's actually getting a little bit of respect now, versus he's just a third, fourth liner.
Here's who everyone's starting to get behind for the nationally speaking for the Norris Trophy for the Calder Trophy, and that's Moritz Seider. He's getting a lot of traction. He's getting a lot of traction. He's a rookie defenseman is really popular to pick as a Calder Trophy winner.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are trying to say this kid's got future Norris Trophy aspirations. That's why I was thinking Norris Trophy there for a second, but definitely he's kind of starting to take the lead over Lucas Raymond and Trevor Zegras in terms of the Calder Trophy race.
I'd be all for that. I believe Seider is a better player than Raymond and Zegras. 100% believe that. But it's hard for a defenseman to beat out forwards for an award.
Right.
It's just it's a popularity contest. Trevor Zegras.
It also comes down to, and you're not going to change my mind on this. I really do think that sometimes it gets a little subjective with this voting, and you look at a big market original 6 team like the Detroit Red Wings, and I'm not saying that they would intentionally not vote for Tanner Janeau because of that, but I'm just telling you, a lot of times these big market original 6 teams just seem to get more benefit of the doubt. And so if they can make a Detroit Red Wings defenseman, and I'm not saying he's, like I said, don't twist my words, Moritz Seider is very deserving if he wins it, but I'm just saying it's a little bit harder for a Tanner Janeau for a small market team like the Nashville Predators. He's really got to prove it. He's really going to have to go above and beyond to where he doesn't give anyone a choice but to vote for him.
So how many times would Shea Weber have won a Norris Trophy if he'd have played in Detroit?
Yep. Perfect example right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at it overall, it's even like people are just now within the past 3 weeks talking about UC Saros on a regular basis.
On a national level.
On a national level.
And we've been talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my point.
Like, and a lot of credit goes to Kyle because he really started this conversation on this podcast before anyone was doing it.
Yeah.
So he put out that big tweet, that graphic that got us all fired up, and that was forever ago. That was like how long ago was that? And
that's a good month ago.
Yeah.
And it's like now people are just now on a national level, like on your NHL networks and on your ESPNs, you're finally starting to see people nationally talk about it. On the last game that the Preds played on ESPN Plus, they talked about it a lot after the game in their post-game show. So he's starting to get some attention now nationally, but we've been talking about it. And locally, some other people have been talking about it for a while now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just like Josi getting in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Josi should have been an All-Star before Nathan McKinnon's injury.
But unfortunately, the way they do the selection process and how
Yeah.
every team's got to get a player, that's the only reason he didn't get in, because of the stupid selection process.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a trophy thing is just, it's like, come on now, pick the best players.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have to really worry about hurting people's feelings here? Like, let's put the best players in there. There's no reason why one of the world's best defensemen should not be an all-star. Like, let's not overcomplicate this, like the NHL always likes to do.
The NHL wants exposure for all the teams, and they feel, I bet that's exactly why.
Yeah.
If you didn't put, somebody in because they didn't deserve it, then that team doesn't.
But that's not a true. That is not a true all-star. That's not a true all-star game. Then you need to call it something else.
100% agree.
If you're just picking a player because you have to pick everyone, then that's not all-star.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, we won't turn it. We won't. I might rant a little too long, and we'll be here all night. Right. So,
I don't know if y'all saw it, but the NHL announced they're going to do the international series again.
I saw that.
So, and they are what they said. One of them is going to be in Switzerland. So, the heavy favorite for that game is Nashville.
I love that. So didn't Nashville was supposed to play overseas before
they're supposed to play Boston?
The COVID thing.
Yep, before COVID. And who are they saying? Maybe the Devils is the other team that would be for Switzerland because of Heischer.
Yeah.
Because they're both
that would be cool.
Captained by Swiss players. So that would be pretty sweet. Or
that would be really cool.
The other team that got it was I can't remember the other team that got brought up, but it was definitely Nashville because of Josi and how high profile he is overseas.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll move on to my next one, and that's Phillip Scorsberg. Scoresberg has 38 points in 32 games. The man is on a mission. 24 goals. He's had 5 goals in his last 4 games. He absolutely looks like a threat every single time he comes down the ice. It's been something else to watch. The man's in running for first star of the game every single night. It's David Poole, get your pen out, man. Come on.
And what I love about it too is I feel like he's scoring in so many different ways. Like
he's a slap shot goal.
He is a variety type of goal. He's a variety type of goal scorer this year. He'll get in. He'll get in close to the net and battle for a rebound if he needs to. He's hanging out in Ovechkin's office, like Rich was saying, and doing these one-timers on the power play. I mean, he's getting on breakaways. He's putting hits out there. He had 4 hits in the last game against Vancouver. I mean, he's just doing it all, man. He looks so focused. And, I mean, it's a contract year, so of course he's focused. But I actually don't think that Forsberg is that type of player where he's just playing for himself. I really do think he loves this franchise and he loves this city and he wants to perform well for this city. But he's just all the power's in his hands. And so, Poyle's going to have to pay him what he's owed. I mean, even if it's a little more than what you want to do.
He loves the city so much. He lives right by Bridgestone Arena. So there you go.
Oh, okay. I mean, there you go.
He loves it that much. Yeah. I've followed our Instagram account follows him and his fiance, and she posts pics from their window, and you can clearly see Bridgestone from their window of where they live. So he likes it that much. He lives right downtown. So,
the one-timer he scored the other day, I don't know that I've ever watched him take a one-timer in my entire time of being a fan.
Oh, it was so pretty, though, wasn't it? It gave me chills just watching it.
It was beautiful, but I've never seen him wind up and take one. Phil always takes wristers and backhanders. I've never seen him just unleash a bomb, and it's nice to know that's in the arsenal. If
pulling out all the stops. Yeah, Demko didn't have a chance to do that one.
I mean,
no.
How often have the Predators had a forward that can do that on the power play? I mean, they had Shea Weber for years who would do that, but he would crank it from like near the blue line. he wouldn't be down there. He wouldn't be down there in the circle like that. He'd be more up top doing it. But when it comes to like a forward or a winger, very few. I mean, it's really hard to name players who have, given you that for this.
We got to give a guy credit though. Philippe Myers on the one that Matt Duchene scored.
He's been playing well lately.
Bomb. Mm-hmm. That was a cannon shot right there.
Yeah.
That would have hurt.
I've loved how he has really stepped up his play lately.
Yes,
Philippe Myers.
Yeah.
He's earning himself. I mean, I know he's playing in Dante Fabro's absence, but I mean, what are you going to do?
Benning was out. He played with Boro.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Benning was hurt.
Benning's hurt. I think we have if they decide to re-sign Benning and Boro and let Ferentz and some of those guys develop a little bit more, I don't know if they will or they won't, then Myers is an excellent seventh defenseman.
I think Benning's gone. If you made me guess right now, I would say Benning's not signed. I would rather keep Borowiecki out of the two. I really wouldn't like to lose either one of them, but I feel like it's going to be kind of hard to keep both of those of those players and then still justify a way to keep Philippe Myers, who was part of the Ryan Ellis trade. You want to get the most out of him you can, and he's still got one more year left on his deal. And then like you said, Kyle, you've got your prospects, Jeremy Davies, David Ferentz, who you're going to eventually want to find room for. So I just don't see how you're going to be able to keep everybody. And so probably Benning or Borowiecki, but I would rather keep Borowiecki just because he's a little bit more rugged and more of a veteran who I can trust just a little bit more than Benning. But I really appreciated what Benning's done too. He's been really a quality, solid depth defenseman too. So
he's the cheaper of the two if they decide to keep him, but he's at $1 million this year and we'll probably want a little bit of a raise, I'm sure, like you said.
I would think so. He's earned it. So. He'll probably earn it from another team though, maybe as well.
That's true.
All right.
So we'll keep on going. In my last two, y'all know I like to watch a lot of the other leagues and Predators prospects and whatnot. The next one, Conor Ingram.
Oh
yeah.
No.
I thought I knew what you were about to say.
Oh, I guarantee you do, but I'd say it's the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. Conor Ingram has been on a mission. 3 shutouts in 4 games, AHL Player of the Week. I don't know if y'all have seen any of the highlights of these games. He's absolutely looked like Superman on some of these saves he's doing, like laid out stick save all the way across the other side of the crease. Just, it's the Conor Ingram that was playing before the COVID and all of his issues and everything else. It's really, really heartening to see.
I think I saw somewhere where he was on a stretch of making 95 of 96 saves or something like that.
It was insane. Absolutely insane.
I think he was at one point, I don't know how long it lasted, but it was like 179 minutes without letting in a goal straight, something like that. And I think it was even longer than that, but yeah.
And
he's making a case for a Saros Ingram duo next year, that's for sure.
Oh, well, there's no case to be had on that one. That's happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put, if I was a betting man, I would put some money on that right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's all that makes sense.
I'm all right with it.
That's
point. Awesome. Yeah, it'd be good.
So it's awesome to see Conor having that success.
How spoiled have we been for this team's history when it comes to the goalie pipeline that this team has always had? I mean, it's just it kind of reminds you to like the same equation of an NFL team that always has a great starting quarterback for their entire history. Like they go from one great starting quarterback to another. Well, you got the Predators, who even like they had Thomas Vokoun for all those years. Then they even had Chris Mason, who put some good years for him. Our buddy, our good friend Chris Mason, and then of course, then they get Pecorine in there, of course, and then Saros comes in, and then you've got Conor Ingram, and then you've got a top goalie prospect, Yaroslav Askarov. It's like they just keep pumping in the goaltenders, and you can check that box off. That's a big thing for a team to remain competitive, and that's why they've went to 7 straight playoffs. It's because they've always had the goaltender position figured out.
How many playoffs did Henrik Lundqvist drag the Rangers to?
Oh, man. Did you see him playing the guitar, by the way? That was awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty
cool.
I
love Hank.
He was like grooving, man. He's got like the most perfect, like sleeked back hair. He just looks like so cool and just so laid back. He's just sitting there jamming away on his guitar.
He has a band, and they will randomly play bars in New York. Like
That's
so cool.
They won't advertise it. It'll just be Henrik and his band up there playing.
Yeah.
And so.
And he got his jersey retired, which was really cool to see.
Yeah.
And of
I think
course,
the Rangers. I was just gonna say, I think the Rangers, that was like a custom guitar that had the Rangers on it or something that he was playing that they gave him.
Yes, and the David Gunnarsson, who paints Juuse's masks and Pekka's mask, also paints Lundqvist's mask. Paints most of the masks in NHL. Honestly,
that's cool.
He painted the guitar.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
awesome.
So because he delivered it to him.
That's very cool.
We got Pekka's jersey retirement coming up soon here.
Won't be dry in the house.
No.
And that will be against Dallas. So perfect team to do it against.
Yeah.
Bridgestone Arena is the house that Pekka built.
February 24th. Mark your calendars, everybody, if you haven't already. Good luck getting a ticket to that game. But February 24th, it's on a Thursday. We will be doing a live episode for that.
Yep.
So stay tuned. That's going to be a fun episode.
It might be dusty in the house. So.
Oh, my Pekka and Rene jersey is definitely coming out for that one.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Little allergies going on.
All of us be red-eyed.
All right, your top pick. I think I know what you're going to say here, but I'm going to let you.
That would be Mr. Luke Evangelista.
Yes. Yeah.
For someone who is considered a non-creative offensive talent in his draft year, was pretty underwhelming in his draft year. Just they gave him no credit, really. Played on a loaded London Knights team, but he was a lower line player. Well, this year he's the captain of the London Knights, who is one of the premier teams in the OHL. He has 64 points in 31 games. That's pretty insane.
32 goals and 32 assists.
Yes. In 4 days over the weekend, he had 6 goals and 4 assists.
Video game numbers.
Video game numbers. So I went back and I looked at something. So we all know who Mitch Marner is that plays for the Leafs. Mitch was also a captain of the London Knights. So I went back and looked at Mitch's numbers and see where they compared. Of course,
I like Mitch this investigative reporting you're doing here.
Yeah, Kyle. Man, right.
So Mitch had, of course, a lot more games. He had 57 games played versus Luke and his 31. But as far as points per game, Mitch has 2.03 and Luke has 2.06 points per game.
Good company.
Now
Mitchell makes a lot of money.
Mitchell makes a whole lot of money, and I really like Mitch Marner.
Yeah, me too.
And it looks like Austin Matthews got hurt pretty bad. Anyway,
that's not good.
Sorry. Yeah, I just saw it pop up. He got hit in the head.
Anyway,
the Leafs did beat the Hurricanes in overtime, though, so that's a pretty big statement win for them. Let's see you do it in the playoffs. Anyway, okay. Back to Luke Evangelista. To Evangelista.
You look at the goal scoring pace that Evangelista's on. For Marner's captainship year, he had 0.68 goals per game. Luke has 1.03 goals per game. So he is averaging above a goal per game. That's absolutely nuts.
I don't care what league you're on or what league you're in. That's just crazy.
Our friend Justin says Mitch won the game tonight for the Leafs. Look at there.
Yeah, I like that guy too. He's one from there I wouldn't mind having in Nashville, but it's cool to see you go back and you look at some of these historical players. Like you look at
Absolutely.
Connor McDavid's OHL numbers when he played at the Erie Otters, and they're absolutely out of this. Like nobody's going to be near that.
Yeah.
He's close to 3 points per game. It's just
And
it's
you do
ridiculous.
see, not to take anything away from Evangelista, but you do see a lot of players they rip apart a league like the OHL. It's not as physical. It's not as big of a league. There is a lot more scoring chances and scoring opportunities in that league, from what I understand. The
Mhm.
big test, I'm not taking anything away from him. What he's doing is incredible, like I said, no matter what league he's playing in. But it's going to be really, the real measuring stick is going to obviously be when he gets to Milwaukee and when you get to the AHL, because that league gets a lot more physical. The AHL is a very grinded out, hard hitting league. You've got a lot of career AHL veteran type players, journeyman type players who will rough you up. They're never going to make the NHL, but they will make it really hard on these prospects to make it to the NHL while on their way there, if you know what I mean. So that's going to be a measuring stick time for Evangelista. I'm really interested to see once he gets to Milwaukee. I guess that would be next season. I'd really be interested to see. I don't think he'll keep up his current goal pace, but I would like to see if he could still, keep up a pretty high goal pace. He's a little undersized. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's his
I
big
just
thing.
looked up another guy we could compare to, and that's Taylor Hall. Taylor, in his last OHL year, 57 games played, 40 goals, 66 assists.
Wow.
So,
well, even didn't Tomasino put up over 100 points in the OHL?
I want to say so.
I think so. Yeah, I believe you're right.
He was that. We've been comparing
destroying
Evangelista. Not really in the way they don't play exactly the same way. I'm not saying that, but we've been comparing where Evangelista is at right now with what we went through with Tomasino, because that's when Tomasino burst onto the scene, was when he was tearing up the OHL. And Kyle, if you want to look up what Tomasino did in the OHL, I'm pretty sure he did over 100 points right before he came over.
Yeah, hold on.
He
got traded, so I got to add it up.
We're doing math on here. Watch out.
We did enough math earlier in this episode, and it didn't go well.
It did not go well at all. So there is math. That's a lot of math. I'm not going to do it. You can do it. You probably already started. Carry the 2, divide by 3. Anyway.
So he played 62 games, had 40 goals. Yep. So Luke is going to outscore him goal wise.
He actually had 100 points.
He was right at 100 points.
Yeah, 100 points even.
Yeah.
He split time with Niagara and Oshawa. Yeah. I knew he came right close to 100 points that year.
Yep.
He had 60 assists that year. So that's close to Taylor Hall territory with the 66 assists. So
and then when he played for Chicago, 29 games, 32 points in those 29 games. So that's pretty strong.
So he showed he could do it. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So if Evangelista continues on the similar path that Tomasino's on, let's see what he can do in the AHL. That's all I'm saying. But it's really exciting to see all of his highlights that are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much my entire timeline today for my Preds timeline on Twitter was like 80% Luke Evangelista. And I love it. It's
pretty
awesome.
Exciting.
It's good to have a offensive prospect that is garnering that much attention.
And a winger, Kyle, a winger. Something that's always eluded this franchise.
Yeah, when your most successful homegrown winger is somebody you didn't draft.
It could have been Kevin Fiala if they thought it was at the time. Craig Smith was kind of considered a center when he first came in, but he played a little wing too. He wasn't elite, but Craig Smith played a little winger during his time with the Predators, and but it's very few and far between we'll wait and see if Eeli Tolvanen can end up being one of those as he continues to grow. But very few and far between.
I really like Tolvanen's game now. I know he's not scoring, but I really just like his game.
I think the scoring is going to come, though, Kyle. I think it will eventually. I think it's just not happening for him right now.
As good of a shot as he is, everybody knows he's got that shot. It's just I've said this exact sentence before. He looks like Matt Duchene did last year. It's just every post he can hit, he's gonna hit it. It's just There's nothing else to say. He's going to hit every single post he can touch.
Post magnet.
All right, that was an awesome edition of Perk's Picks. A lot of good picks there, a lot of good discussion that we got out of that. We're going to round out episode 103 with Chad Benton, Rich Howe, and Kyle Perkins. We're going to list off the top trade targets out there in the NHL and if they would fit the Preds or would they not be a fit at all? If they would fit, how would you acquire them? What would you be willing to give up for these players? And pretty much if you go around and look at all the major hockey websites, they're all in agreement with a list of like 10 top targets. We're not going to go through all 10, but I did write down like some of the ones that stood out the most to me. And one that's really starting to gain a lot of traction and a lot of popularity around the league and also around the Preds community is Claude Giroux, who, of course, just got the All-Star Game MVP. Here's the thing about Claude Giroux, and I was looking up some of his stuff today on it. He's got a no-move clause right now. So Giroux can go wherever he chooses to go if he even wants to leave the Flyers, which I would assume he does because the Flyers are just having a horrendous season. But he can pick where he wants to go. So it's a matter of I don't know enough about Claude Giroux to know if he would be intrigued about going to a team like the Predators, but also it's going to be a very expensive package that you would have to put together to get a Claude Giroux, who is a two-way player, great in the face-off circle. He's going to give you second line minutes. He's going to be a veteran. Great addition, but you're probably going to have to give up a starter, a prospect, and some draft picks, according to what everyone is saying his price tag is. So, as much as I like Claude Giroux, that scares me.
So, which center are you going to punish?
like, who are you going to send to Philly?
No, I'm saying who are out of Ryan Johansen and Mikhail Granlund, which one of them two are you going to punish?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like take out of the top six?
Yep.
That's
the problem you have. I don't know.
Problem.
I mean, we're just speaking hypothetically here. If the Predators really wanted to swing for the fences, and let's say Claude Giroux would want to come to a place like Nashville, and this could happen. Yeah, you would. And what did I say earlier, Rich? In this episode, we both said it. Shaking up things that don't need to be,
leave things alone.
You've got a team that's just buzzing with all this chemistry on the lines. We love the fact that we have a set lineup, and we feel like unless there's injuries, we pretty much always know what this starting lineup's going to look like every night. You throw a Claude Giroux in the mix, you can go ahead and shake all that up, and you're going to have to rearrange things. And just because it's an upgrade on paper doesn't mean it's going to upgrade your team on the ice. So I'm going to say a pass. I'm going to say a hard. I'm not going to say a hard pass. It definitely intrigues me a little bit, but I still got to say I'll take a pass on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think
not for his price, and not for what he's going to command. Just too much for me to give up.
And for like Kyle said, the movement is going to be. Yeah, you're going to punish.
I got a good question for both of y'all, and I'll ask Kyle first. But it's really good for this discussion. When you're talking about having to trade a top prospect for one of these players, Kyle, who would you consider our top prospect right now that you think a team would be very, very interested in that's probably playing that would be close to being NHL ready, where you think teams would be like, yes, we want that prospect if we're going to give you this player?
Askarov.
Is he tradable? Right? I guess.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know how that works, but
I don't know how that works when he's still under KHL. That's a question, I guess. For
you trade his rights.
Trade his rights, yeah. You think he's number one then? Since he's, I guess he is the top goalie prospect. I guess it depends on what team you're talking about, but
that's true. You go for a team like somebody having a terrible goalie play right now. Somewhere like Seattle.
Right.
They're going to want a goalie.
There you go, there, Conor Ingram. We ain't giving. If they give up Conor Ingram, then it better be Connor McDavid we're getting back.
Yeah,
I really wouldn't want to give up Ingram. Ingram is too close to being your. He's too much in the plans for next year. Afanasayev.
I think that's my choice personally. I feel like he would be would really sweeten the pot for a team that was looking at prospects.
Yeah,
our prospects. If anyone get a winger, Justin Gambino says, if anyone get a winger and send Cousins to the fourth line with Tomasino and slot someone on the first line with Ryan Johansen.
If we get anybody at all. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Cousins and Tomasino together. I do. I think they play well together. Oddly enough, it's a really odd match. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they do seem to play well together.
That's true.
All right. So I'm taking a pass on Claude Giroux. $8.3 million cap hit right now. He has a no-move clause. I don't think he's going to come here anyway, but he is pretty much leading most of the trade rumors right now. And so definitely wanted to bring him up. This is one I think me and Rich both want really bad, and a lot of people, I think Kyle has mentioned it as well, and I think it's way more realistic, and that's Jake Debrusk of the Boston Bruins. Looked up some more stuff on him today, some more recent stuff, and he seems to be a much more safe addition for a team like the Predators. If they are looking to make a splash here, he would give you center depth. I don't think he'd be overly expensive, and he might not be a rental after all. He's a player you could actually hold on to for your future because he is going to be a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted. So you have a little bit more leverage for the front office and for Poyle to, if you were to sign Debrusk, maybe keep him past next season and you're not just signing a rental player for the playoffs. Could actually make a future move for your team. Yeah. What do you guys think about Jake Debrusk?
I like Jake Debrusk. His point totals have gone down since he started with Boston every year, but I don't think that's his fault. I just think it's, the opportunities that he's given, it's just not a good fit anymore. I don't know. I like him a lot. I've always liked him. He's a really good player, and I would love to have him in Nashville.
I agree with that. I just don't know what you're going to have to give up to get him, and I don't know how exactly that's going to be worth it or not.
Yeah. It's true. And and you're back to that where do you put him scenario.
He would probably be in the bottom six if you ask me, maybe third line. He's a depth. He'd be a depth guy. I feel like he'd be a depth guy that would hopefully give you some extra scoring in your bottom six if you brought him in. That's what I'm thinking if you were to add him. Keep your top six locked in. But then you got to figure out, like Kyle said, who would you give up? I don't think you'd have to give up a whole lot to get him personally. But.
Yeah. Well, he's moved around. He's played on all the lines with Boston, so he has the ability to. I mean, he has actually played first line minutes when he's been needed to. So,
but the one, all right, this next player is what really interests all of us, and that's Phil Kessel.
Just for the memes, just for the fun,
but not even just for that. Could you imagine adding a Phil Kessel to your playoff roster? I mean, the guy is shown up in big playoff moments in his career. I know he's not the same player he once was. He's still putting up a respectable season for a really bad team. It's not like he's just completely non-existent this season. I'd have to look up his exact numbers, but I know he's got like in the 25 to 30 point range, somewhere around there. So
29.
it's not like so I mean, he's still making an impact. Imagine if you put him on a better team. What kind of production would he be putting up then? Yeah. He's got an 8-team no trade list right now. So we don't really know who's on that list, but he does have a little leverage in where he wants to go. And it really comes down to where does he want to go? And I think he would want to go obviously to a playoff team, a team that can win a cup this year. So once again, you're looking at a team like Nashville. Can they sell themselves to some of these big trade targets who are looking to get onto a good team who are currently playing for a bad team right now?
Right.
Phil Kessel, where would you put him on this roster, guys? Let's say hypothetically, if he came on the Preds, where would you put him? Who would you take out?
I would probably put him with Johansen.
Okay.
Have Tolvanen on one wing and Kessel on the other. You want him with Tolvanen because Phil's not going to play any defense. Tolvanen's shown how much defense he's willing to play this year. So I think that would be the best option.
What do you think, Rich?
On paper, that sounds good. That sounds awesome.
It's really hard to shuffle this lineup, though. The whole idea of it just gives you a weird feeling inside because the team's already playing so well. Now, one thing we got to remember here is a lot can happen between now and when a lot of these trades are going to start happening.
That's true.
Whatever you're thinking about now in terms of what you might do at the trade deadline might completely change. But we are starting to enter trade season here in February. We see trades happen in February. Just because the deadline's in March doesn't mean we won't start seeing some trades. And I really do think in these next couple of weeks, we're going to start seeing some trades happen.
Yeah.
But with some of these teams who are kind of desperate to move on.
That's
true. But I think Phil Kessel, if you can make the numbers make sense, I would add him. I would absolutely bring him on the team. I think he would really help you once you get into the playoffs more than anything else, having a player like him who can score clutch goals. He's been there in those playoff moments in the past. He's a veteran. He wants to win. You know he's going to do the right thing for his team that he comes on to. I think he would mesh pretty well with this Predators team, actually. So, then you got to wonder who comes out of the lineup. Probably be whoever you end up trading. But, I'm sure the Coyotes would want to just take a bunch of draft picks out of that, though, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think the Coyotes would be looking for really too many starters. They would be looking for prospects, and they would be looking for draft picks because they are in full rebuild mode, obviously. So
scorched earth rebuild mode.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
One more guy I got. That's John Klingberg.
Where do you put him?
$4.3 million cap hit. He is number one on Bleacher Report's trade targets list among the entire NHL. He is likely going to be a rental player for whoever he goes to, and he is going to get a really big payday once the offseason gets here. So whichever team does trade for him, if the Stars do indeed end up trading him, they're either going to have to say, okay, you're a rental, move on, or they're going to have to pay him. So this is a very easy no for me. Don't even really have to think much of it. As much as I do like Klingberg, I think he's a decent player. He's a quality defenseman. He can bring you some offense. We've already talked about how loaded our defensive core is already when it comes to, finding room for players. I mean, I just don't see – I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm dismissing this too much?
I mean,
what you think about Klingberg?
It feels like they're really set with defensemen right now, and it's back to that who are you going to punish, who's been playing well.
But if the Stars hit a really bad – the Stars are one really bad losing streak away from selling the farm, I feel like. So
Yeah, you're right.
Klingberg's definitely gone if the Stars fall apart. He might be gone either way because I don't think the Stars want to re-sign him. He's not happy there. He's already said he's not happy there.
Yeah. And it's a shame. Like I was looking at his numbers. He's had some really good seasons for them, but it's just declined over the past few years. Yeah, I mean, he's not a third pair guy. So who do you who do you punish who's been playing well? Carrier? Fabro?
No.
That's what I mean.
Probably,
well,
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying though. Like he would take the place of one of those two guys. So
but he's not a fit. I don't think he's a fit. As good of a player as he is, I just don't think he's a fit for our team.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a good addition to a playoff team out there. That's for sure. He's going to help somebody.
True. Yep. Here's another guy, and he's already in our shopping cart, Phillip Forsberg. He's in the cart. All you got to do is go check out.
He's not. Do not put him on any trade list. He ain't getting traded.
Have to.
There's no way.
He's not. He's already in the cart. You don't have to go do anything.
Yeah. The Preds are. If the Preds weren't in the position they were in the standings, then I would say trade him.
No,
but there's too much at stake here.
Way too much.
What kind of message would you be sending to your fan base and to your team?
Yeah.
If you traded away a player like Forsberg who's having a career year and you're in the hunt for maybe even a division title. I mean, let's not completely dismiss that possibility.
That's
that would send such a horrible message. So yeah, he's already in the shopping cart. He's already in the shopping cart.
Yeah, you don't even have to go shopping, man. You got your guy right there. Just go pay for him.
Just pay him and be done with it. It's a good point.
Don't do anything.
I think there's a really good chance that that Poyle does nothing.
Yeah,
at the deadline, I could see that happening, and then he really gets aggressive in the offseason. Then that's when he spends a lot of his money then in free agency over the offseason.
Yeah, that was CJ was asking if we're buyers. Do we focus on offense or defense? I don't really want them to do much this year.
If they do anything, this would be my druthers, as you would say. If they do anything, I wouldn't mind seeing a fourth line center.
Yes, that's right.
That would be good.
And this is only in case that Tommy Novak does not come back up, because I wasn't dissatisfied with his play by any means. In fact, right whenever he got COVID and everything and then had the subsequent injury, he was starting to hit a little bit of a roll there. So if he can come back up, I'd be fine with that. If they did a couple of small little trades and got a solid fourth line center, I wouldn't hate that. That would be okay.
Yeah. Well, they could just put Lucas Pisa in for that. I'm sure he can handle that. He's pretty
got it in. You got your Lucas Pisa reference in, Rich. You waited till the very end of the episode. I was worried that you weren't gonna. Oh, hey guys, I gotta. How did we leave out this one player, and it would actually just solve Kyle's fourth line center possibility? Calle Jarnkrok.
Oh yeah, I saw something. Robbie Stanley actually mentioned him today. Yeah,
but that's actually perfectly fits Kyle Perkins's fourth line center solution.
It does.
See, here's the thing. I wasn't gonna say it because I didn't want to jinx it. So it's all your fault.
A light bulb went off when you said fourth line center, Kyle. I really wasn't thinking about Jarnkrok until you said that.
That would be excellent.
And you wouldn't have to give up much at all to Seattle. Give them a draft pick. Maybe
they would probably, as bad of a year as Calle has had. And the reason why I thought of this, I was talking with Blake Sulcer earlier.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I want Calle back. And I was like, no. And then I was like, okay, it makes sense. And then
you could offer
it really makes sense.
You could offer a couple draft picks, a second round pick, maybe a third round pick, because that's what I think Seattle's looking to do right now. If you're the Seattle front office and you're seeing that your expansion season is gone horribly wrong, like most expansion seasons have in the NHL history. If you're Seattle right now and you're in that front office, you're trying to acquire as many draft picks as you possibly can in the next couple years and start that long process of having to build an actual NHL team, much like what the Predators had to go through in their early days.
Yeah. They're wanting as many darts as they can have to throw at the board. That's where Seattle's going to end up at.
Yeah.
So
I'd take him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have to think about it, truthfully. So I don't know. Make it happen.
For sure.
Wouldn't hate it.
Make it happen. He's got 15 points this season. He's played 34 games.
I would take Cal Yarncroc back in a heartbeat as well.
Yeah, definitely. He was hurt and then out for COVID, so he's actually kind of on par for his last few seasons in Nashville, point-wise. So, yeah, that'd be good.
Very interesting stuff for sure. It's going to get more and more interesting as we get closer. I love the season. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and it's just I can't get enough of it. Seeing where all these players go and see these teams who overpay or these teams who just completely whiff on some of these trades that they make. So we will stay focused on that as it gets closer. This has been episode 103 of Catfish on Ice with Chad Mitten, Rich, and Kyle Perkins. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great week. We will see you on Thursday to react to the Dallas Stars game that's coming up Wednesday. We'll get into a bunch more stuff as well. Stay tuned for that. We hope everyone has a great week. Take it easy.
Yep. Have a good one.
Later. Y'all be good.